And the one that I usually begin with is our product database. I need to highlight here that Jungle Scout offers a couple of different plans, and I'm using the most tricked out one that gives me unlimited access. We do have a basic plan that is a bit limited, like you can only conduct a couple of searches in this tool. So I just want to point that out in case people are wondering which one to choose. I recommend for complete beginners to go with the middle one, which is the Suite plan, because that gives you unlimited searches. And you're definitely going to need to do a lot of research before you can pick a product. So our database is actually like a parallel to Amazon. You're not searching Amazon itself. You are searching Jungle Scout's database, but we've been building this up for the entire time we've existed since 2015. So we have millions of products on all these Amazon marketplaces in our database. And you can get really detailed information about the level of demand for a product, what the average selling price is, what the level of competition is. You can do that by setting these parameters that we see over on the right-hand side. So I'm going to leave this on United States because that's where I live. But again, I recommend that you probably should start your search in the country that's the most familiar to you. You can pick and choose whatever you want. You can mix and match all of these settings. But today, I'm just going to go with maybe one category to keep things simple. I'm just going to pick patio, lawn, and garden. And then on the right-hand side is where I would decide whether I wanted to look at only standard size products. These are going to be the most economical to store in a warehouse, like an Amazon warehouse or even a third-party company, as well as to ship to the customers. The oversized category is more for stuff that's unusual dimensions or is heavier than usual. And normally I recommend that total beginners stay away from oversized products, but I'm going to leave this all blank to get as many results as possible. And then you could also see whether you wanted to see the products that Amazon themselves are selling, because beyond being an e-commerce platform, Amazon as a company also sells products under hundreds of different private label brand names. Sometimes you might not even realize you're buying a product that's sold by Amazon. And so I like to check this box just to see what Amazon thinks is good to sell. And some people think that you couldn't compete against Amazon because of all the data they have, but I find that they don't always do the best job of marketing their products, or sometimes the quality isn't really that good. So there could be an opportunity for a small entrepreneur to go and make a better product and then outsell Amazon. And then FBA and FBM, these stand for the fulfillment methods of the sellers on Amazon. So you as a seller could either send your inventory into Amazon's warehouses and let them handle all of the shipping to the customers. If the customer wants to return it, it's really easy. They just send it back to Amazon and they'll handle all that for you so you can focus on growing your business. Or FBM, which is fulfilled by merchant, in which case I've done both of these models. So I often receive my products at my garage here in Texas, where I can store them for free since I have a house. And then I would often take orders to the local UPS store or the post office. But you could also hire a third-party company to do this for you if that's a better option for you. So in any case, I usually just leave these blank to begin with so we get as many results as possible. If you guys are looking for some suggestions, we actually have some presets that you could pick from here to find products with high demand or low competition, or maybe something that represents a good return on investment, just to get you started. But here we've got all of these parameters I can choose from. And I'm actually going to ask Vova for his input because he's fairly experienced doing product research. I have certain numbers that I recommend to complete beginners, but Vova, what do you want to put in today in terms of like the selling price minimum?
Right, it's a great question. And from my experience, man, we started our first product that we found with Jungle Scout was back in the day Kitchen Caesars, right? And back in the day, the price of Kitchen Caesars was somewhere between $10 to $15. Generally, after selling on Amazon for a few good years, I see that it's harder to compete in lower priced products. Not necessarily so, but usually it is so because it takes less money usually to start with these products. There's more competition. So like the higher you do the minimum price, it's theoretically you're going to have less competition because it's going to be more expensive to source the product. It's interesting. Let's say we're working on a new product at this same time. It's being shipped to Amazon and kind of the landed cost of this product is about $1. Although the sale price is going to be about, we're going to start from $15 and move all the way to hopefully 20. So there's a great ROI there because it's also a small product, in the barbecue niche. So I would say like minimum $20, $25. Like it's hard to say exactly, but I would go north of 20, let's say. What do you say, Edmund?
Yeah, I agree because when you sell, there's all these other costs that you might not have thought of, like the shipping costs and then the storage costs and all that. And those can really add up. So yeah, here at Jungle Scout, we usually recommend that you look for products that are minimum $20, maybe $25 or euros or, whatever currency you're looking at. So Today, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm just going to put in 50 as my minimum, and we'll see what happens. And then if you have more experience doing product research because you're coming to Jungle Scout, but you've already been selling online, you can choose a lot of things like the net profit after all of the Amazon fees are accounted for. You can search by the minimum or maximum bestseller rank if you'd like to. If you know generally the dimensions and the weight of the kind of item you're looking to sell, you can put those in. I find that usually complete beginners don't really need to worry about any of that stuff, but I do like to focus on things like the number of sales in the last 30 days, because this represents the level of demand. And so my personal bare minimum is at least 300 units sold in the last 30 days. That represents about 10 sales per day in a month. I think that's a very reasonable goal for a beginner to aim for. Now, if it was a little bit less, like 290 or 270, and I happen to discover an interesting niche, I might be okay with that. But usually I want this number to be a little bit higher, so that shows that there is actually demand for it. I think I'm just going to put in 400 units as my minimum today. And then you want to know how competitive the product is, and we gauge that by the number of reviews that a product receives on Amazon. And we say reviews, we're talking about a star rating, somebody leaving a paragraph, or even uploading photos and videos. All of those count as a review. The last thing I wanted to point out here is the listing quality score. This one is not as good because here at Jungle Scout, you'll find that we assign scores to a lot of things. And so whenever we get a listing in our database, we give it a score from 1 to 10, with 10 being the best score. And we use an algorithm to calculate the score based on things like, have they used all of the bullet points? Have they used a certain number of characters in the title and the description? Have they uploaded a certain number of photos to their listing? All of this to give us an idea of whether the listing quality is good or bad. And so I could put in a maximum LQS score of something like 5 or 6, and then I would get results of products that might represent great opportunities, but the people who are currently selling them on Amazon are not marketing them very well, and maybe you could create a better listing and then outcompete them. But for now, I'll leave that blank. If you wanted to, you could choose the date that it was first available on Amazon. If you have certain keywords in particular that you wanted to look for, you could include those or exclude them if you wanted to. And then you can also exclude top brands or anything that's marked as unavailable in Amazon's system. And so when I click search, it usually does take a little bit of time for it to scour the database, since there are a million products that it's looking through. But now you can see that this table has been generated. Vova, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just following, man. So we have some products now that Jungle Scout shows us.
You can see these are all in that patio category because it's the only one that I chose. I think they're usually arranged from the highest monthly revenue to the lowest, although in this case, I'm not sure which column it actually chose to default to, but you can see that these inflatable Christmas decorations, they're bringing in $50,000 a month. They're selling about 461 of them in a month. But then, this pack of hose coupling here, they're selling almost 2,000 units per month, and that's generating almost $140,000 of revenue. Now, I suspect that these are pretty well-established brands, and this is definitely a seasonal product since it's a holiday decoration. So as a beginner, I would stay away from seasonal items. I want to try to find something that has year-round demand that I can build a solid business around. My favorite column in this table is the selling price here in black, and then these two orange numbers are actually clickable. So the one on the right is the fees breakdown, and if this seller is using Amazon's fulfillment services, what we call FBA, we can see the fees that they're paying to ship this from an Amazon warehouse to a customer, probably in the United States, because that's where most people are shopping in the US market. And then the referral fee is whenever you sell on Amazon, no matter whether you're shipping the product or whether Amazon is shipping the product, just for using Amazon's platform and tapping into all of that organic traffic that they have as the world's biggest marketplace, you're going to pay a kind of commission to Amazon for listing your product. It's usually a percentage of the selling price, and it changes depending on the category. This one looks fairly high to me, but this is important to note that you will pay this for every item that you sell. And if there's any other random costs that you pay, those will be calculated as well. So we know that this seller is paying $23.53 just in Amazon fees alone. I should note as well that if they're a really big brand and they have other channels like a Shopify store, or maybe they sell on Facebook Marketplace or something, they likely have other expenses like web hosting or email software management or advertising. And we don't have access to that data because it's all we can see is what's coming from Amazon. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these fees. And then the profit calculator is similar because it includes the fees, but it also allows me to experiment with the selling price. And then if I've done some research about how much it costs to source this product, I could plug that in. Personally, I have no idea how much it costs to buy a 10-foot long Christmas inflatable decoration, but they're selling this for about $110. I'm going to guess that I could procure this for maybe like $15 a piece. Let's just play with that number. So if that were true and I found a factory that could sell it to me for that price and I could sell it on Amazon for $109, then I could theoretically make $71 in profit per sale after all of those fees were accounted for. Again, I'm just throwing numbers out there. You'll definitely want to do your own research, but I love this tool because it allows you to get an idea before you really invest money in a product. And then the one other thing I was going to say is that if you expand this, you can usually see all of the child ASINs if there are variants as well. If we thought this looked like an interesting product and we wanted to do more research on it, this little plus sign here will allow me to add this ASIN to Jungle Scout's product tracker.